Well, it wouldn't be the wrestling business if there wasn't some kind of controversy somewhere, somebody being controversial. Obviously, we've seen a lot of that lately with the locker room dramas and that kind of thing. But it's been a minute since we've seen it in a match. In one of the matches that's getting a lot of talk online for a lot of good reasons and a lot of bad reasons, depending on your take, is the big Texas death match between Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page. That happened a couple weeks ago on pay-per-view. A brutal, violent match. But it wasn't necessarily the barbed wire or the staples or the fisticuffs or even the hanging with the chain that made it the brutal match that everybody's talking about it being. It's the spot where the Hangman actually drank the blood of Swerve Strickland and then spit it out, all a Triple H, all over himself, the ring. Fucking violent, brutal, controversial. People didn't like it. Weird. Well, Swerve Strickland was on the Sam Roberts YouTube channel, Notsam. And he was doing an interview for Notsam Wrestling with Sam Roberts, and Sam asked about this match. And this was Swerve's take on the controversial stuff surrounding the match. The violence, the brutality, the blood. Check out this clip.
Were you surprised at the negative side that you got from that Texas death match, that a lot of people, especially obviously the blood drinking spot, right. Like a lot of people were like, this is, I mean, I guess coming from the deathmatch world, you've probably dealt with that a lot, right?
I mean, like coming from like deathmatch world and like seeing like the CZW and stuff like that, like a monthly, almost bi-weekly basis and stuff. I've seen syringes go through people's mouths, like, and I've seen like a bed of 9-inch nails. Yeah. Like soda cans, like ripped off soda cans have like Christmas ornaments. I've seen some wild stuff. Yeah. So like, but I know how extreme that is to the common viewer of wrestling, just the common viewer of like just media watcher and stuff. I know there's a limit to take it, and once you cross that limit, you can't go back. So we could go further. I could go further, but I know what we still have is like, this is still a fresh company. If we go beyond that, it's like, all right, we've seen it. Like, it's almost like you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Totally.
So once like this takes someone out, how do we get them like evacuated? How do we, how do we take them out? Like what leaves someone off the TV screen for like 3 months?
Right.
What debilitates someone on camera? Yeah. So there's like we're really cautious about like how far this really goes, and really conscious of the brutality and the type of brutality. It wasn't like just beating someone's brains in for the sake of it. No, this is warranted. I'm a bad person that did a bad thing. Yeah. And this person wants to get back at them for crossing a line at a personal level to get back at the bad things that they did. So a lot of people are like, oh, that's a good guy doing this. That's a babyface spot. That's a heel spot. Oh, that's no, these are two men fighting each other because one wronged the other and one is justified for getting their wrong back.
Right. And so there's a reason now that we're doing what we're doing. Why I have to drink this man's blood and spit it back. Right.
Well, that was his choice for whatever reason he wanted to do that, But like that's like this that's how angry that to me that showed a lot of anger.
Yeah, of
that
course.
Showed a lot of hatred.
That's that like I'm not thinking raw emotion.
Yeah. Like people think like, oh, he was just doing something that's really gross. I'm like in that moment, it's like you don't know what you'll do when someone has crossed the line, especially with your family and your loved ones. Yes. You don't know what you would do. Yes. And that's what that represented. Like that I can imagine of whatever Hangman was going through at the time in the moment of that match. Like we've seen like some of the craziest like we just seen like a Jeffrey Dahmer documentary and stuff like that. This people, when it comes to anger and rage, you don't know what you'll personally do to embarrass someone. You don't know what personally you'll do to take something from someone. To me, I took his security away.
Right.
And that's a vulnerable place for a man to be, especially as a father.
It's a violation, right? That
Correct.
character violated.
I violated
This, yes.
his security in his home.
Yeah.
And as a man, that's demasculating.
Yes.
So what did he do back to me? Like I hear people talk about breaking down the match and stuff, which thank you very much for going out of your way to discuss this match, whether positive or negative.
Yeah.
You're talking about it, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that's another reason we wanted to strike conversation. And this is his fourth Texas death match.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, how do we make it more personal than all the other ones? Not necessarily more violent,
right?
Not more brutal, not go bigger, not fall off of this. How do we make it just more personal?
I think at the end of the day, wrestling needs to be thought of as art, because that's exactly what it is. It is art. You are literally painting art with your body on a literal canvas, as Freddie Prinze Jr. always likes to point out. That's what it is in hardcore death matches, Texas death matches, bloody, violent messes like that. The brutality, it's art at the end of the day. It's art that these guys are trying to tell. It's a story that they're trying to get across. And look, a lot of these guys are garbage wrestlers, and I'll give you that. When I was a kid in high school, I used to love me some hardcore matches. That was my jam because I was a kid in high school. As I got older and I realized these guys are making like $10, $20, $30, $40, $50 to take these bumps on indie shows and nearly die and bleed all over the place, and they were just doing it to do it. Like, what's the appeal? But every once in a while, you get shit like, say, the Mick Foley Edge one at WrestleMania 22. One of my favorite hardcore matches of all time ever. The flaming table, the barbed wire spot. It was fantastic. They did another one not too long after where it was Foley and Edge versus Tommy Dreamer and Terry Funk. That was a fucking great one, too. Great stuff. And this one, I actually really did like it. It was a bit, look, the blood spot, it's gross. I'm not going to get offended. What am I going to get offended? Oh, he drank blood and spit it. I'm so offended. Shut the fuck up. Who cares? It's gross, though, right? Ew. I'm not even that worried about bloodborne pathogens as much. Hopefully these guys are tested or whatnot. But it's just icky to me. The whole thing's icky, plus the sweat and just, ugh. If I was Hangman, I would have puked. Would have been spitting out my puke. My puke. He's gotta puke. But to each his own. I mean, this was a fantastic match still, and they told a great story. And that was what Swerve was trying to get across here. The reason that it came to this, Swerve was literally in the man's house. Say what you want about that kind of storyline or whatever, but he was standing over his kid's crib. When you do that, whether you would say what you want about the whole angle and violence and everything, but if this was real life, you're trying to be like, psychologically, you're trying to be as real and believable as possible, right? What are you going to do to that guy that was in your house standing over your child's crib? You're going to brutalize him. You'd bite that fucker's face off if you had the chance to. Because he put hands on your kid's crib when he knew you were gone at work, out of town. He was there. Just to show you he could. I don't murder that motherfucker. I will rip his arms off and beat him with them. So yes, in the heat of the battle, maybe it's still gross, probably uncalled for, but I get it. It's that they were expressing that savagery beyond reason at that point. The man, the conscious, everything's gone. It's just the animal instinct to destroy, the savagery, the brutality, the warrior instinct to fight and go on, to murder. Right? It was I mean, say what you want about whether you like watching that kind of content or not. At least they told a good story. And even if you didn't like the story, at least they could justify. They could verbally articulate to you what the story they were trying to tell was and why they don't go out and have these kind of matches every weekend. It was good shit. I liked it a lot. I liked the match. I like listening to Swerve. Swerve's done a couple interviews recently. He's becoming quite the hot topic. But this, I think, was his best interview. His most insightful. Swerve has a habit of kind of getting into... He sounds like a very stereotypical rapper, right? He starts name dropping and stuff. Get him talking about his music. He'll be like, yeah, well, you know, we got an album dropping. We dropped my single with my man's Easy D over here, and Easy D got me in the studio, and we rolled up to the studio and had my boy with me, and like, it sounds bad, but that's how he talks. That's what he is. It's like a rapper. You know what I mean? Very rapper-ish. It's very intricate about his whole how far and above he is on his, we do it like this. We get in the studio and he's like, some people, they do it like this, but then I do it like this. And I have this producer, he's making all these beats for me, and like, that tends to be a lot of Swerve's fucking interviews. I'm not trying to knock the guy, but I mean, it's last couple I've heard, that's what it was. This was very insightful though. This really got to the meat and potatoes of it, and really did a deep dive into that match that a lot of people are still talking about and a lot of people are still criticizing. So it was worth addressing. But I'd love to know your thoughts. Where's your head at on these kind of matches? Do you like these kind of bloody, brutal matches? Do you think they went a little bit too far with the blood spitting and that sort of thing? Or do you think, hey, give it to me. It's wrestling, right? These are guys fighting. If you got a story behind it that makes sense, give it to me. Put it in my veins. Or is it just too much for you? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And are you a Swerve fan? Let me know what you think of Swerve Strickland. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next motherfucker.
Let me tell you something, brother. You can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on this channel, dude. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to take your vitamins and say your prayers, brother.